So today we were going to have a look at some of the wonderful cherry trees which you would see if you were to come to Caerhays Castle Spring Gardens over the Easter weekend. And I'm standing at the entrance to the gardens, and look at this fantastic white cherry behind me. This is cherry called Jo-Nioi, and it came from Japan into this country in about 1900. And although you can't tell it, it has the most fantastic scent. Scarcely an inch of branch doesn't have a white flower on. And let's just come up round the other side and have a look at the bark. Lovely ribbing and splitting in the bark. Many cherries have this, but not all. And just turn and look upwards against the bluish sky and look at this wonderful array of white flowers covering the tree completely. So this is the first of the matsumae cherries which we are now growing in profusion at Caerhays. The matsumae cherries come from a small nursery in the north of Japan, where amazingly a nurseryman survived the Second World War and continues today to breed these marvellous cherry trees. And they were only introduced into this country about 35-40 years ago, and this one is called Chocolate Ice, and it gets its name because of this very lovely brown new growth set against the pink buds which turn white when they're full out. Matsumae cherries don't get cherry canker like a lot of the street trees you see in London. They're only small trees as yet because we haven't been growing them for very long, but they are the way forward in cherry tree growing for the future, and this is tightly in bud and will be fantastic over the Easter weekend. There are two other varieties right by the entrance to the garden which aren't out yet, but they will be probably by the weekend. This is another Japanese cherry called Prunus Gyoiko, and as you can see it's going to come white, but it's very much green in bud with green fleckings on the petals. And this is one you won't have seen growing as a street tree in central London. This is quite an unusual and rare variety, and it's only just coming out, as you can see, so it'll be looking absolutely splendid for Easter weekend. Look at the size of the tree and look how much bud there is to come. Cherries come in all shapes and sizes, and this is a species with very much smaller flowers than those we've been looking at so far. This is Prunus Mahaleb, which is called the St. Lucie cherry, and actually originates from Central and South Europe and has been growing in the UK since 1714. It's perhaps not as spectacular as some of the others we've looked at, but it's one of the cherries that is used to make walking sticks. And you can see how a walking stick can be made from some of these longer flowing branches. Very different growth habit, really quite a big tree and native to Europe. So this is another small flowered cherry, but none the worse for that. This is Prunus incisa, also from Japan, which is known as the Fuji cherry. Masses of single white flowers with a sort of pinkish centre and pinkish stamens as the flower matures, and absolutely covered as a bush as well. Those of you who think you know Prunus incisa as a dwarf cherry, you'd be absolutely right, because there are forms of Prunus incisa, Kojo No Mai and the Bride and Mikidori, which are little dwarf growing border cherries, and they're forms of this small tree called Prunus incisa. And this is Prunus Hally Jolivette. This was bred at the Arnold Arboretum at Massachusetts in the States by Dr. Carl Sachs, and it's a double flowered form. Prunus incisa is one of the parents, and it's really delicate and beautiful flowers which hang down from the branches, so it needs to be beside a path where you can look up into the tree and see its full beauty. And finally, here is another matsumae cherry called Spring Snow, another Japanese import of some significance to us. Starts pink in bud and then opens to being a complete white. Very attractive bronze new growth comes with the flowers, and the white offset against the bronze foliage is really quite something. This won't be full out for a few days yet, so spot on for Easter Sunday. And when we think about prunuses, of course we must remember that the hawthorn we see growing in our hedges, Prunus incisa, the beautiful white flower we see everywhere in the cliffs and in the hedgerows, that too is a cherry, although a European one. So when you're going down the roads coming to Caerhays, just have a look at the Prunus incisa flowering in the hedgerows, and then think how much better cherries you'll be able to see when you get here.